Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. I'm your host, Coach Tripp. My buddy Bill Pennock, Liverpool High School, Syracuse University defensive tackle.
Yes,
and
sir.
along with Blaze Winter, defensive tackle, Syracuse, 12 years in the NFL. Overcome a lot of the odds, man. Persistence and all that. Coming up here in the show here on Four Wheel Drive, we honor all the guys that you guys played with in the 80s. Timmy Green, who has ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, Jamie Kimmel up there, and you guys were quite a force in the 80s. So we, we're going to talk about anything that matters. We're going to talk about virtues on this show. We're going to talk about coaches, players. This week's subject is about our favorite player. Now, everybody's had a favorite player. Okay, so we're going to talk about favorite players. We're going to talk about Coach Bryant's favorite players. This is the bare facts. Here at Coach's Corner, we try to inspire and educate the mind to think, the heart to feel, and the body to act. Billy, I know you had a favorite player. Blaze, you coached as well. You coached in college, played in the NFL. I know you had favorite players. And I want to hear all about you guys' favorite players. But let's hear who Coach Bryant's favorite player was, and then we'll talk about it, okay? Coach Paul Bear Bryant once said, quote, Pat Trammell was his favorite person of his life. If any coach tells you he doesn't have a favorite player, he's lying. We have favorite girls, right? They're our wives, our girlfriends. We have favorite friends. We have favorite teammates, and we do have favorite coaches. I had favorite coaches, and I had favorite players. It's only natural. It's okay to have favorites. Here's an excerpt from Bears Boys, a book by Eli Gold, and he's talking about Coach Bryant's favorite player, Pat Trammell. Pat packed a lot of living into his short, incredible life. On the football field, he was tough, tenacious, unbeatable quarterback who led the Crimson Tide to a national championship, Coach Bryant's first at Alabama in 1961. During his 3 varsity seasons, Alabama lost only 3 games. And it may not be a coincidence that Trammell was not a part of those 3 losses. In the classroom, Pat was a star student. He had the grades and discipline and to complete medical school. Upon graduation, he set up a dermatology practice in Birmingham. But all too soon, Dr. Pat Trammell was gone. He died of cancer on December 10th, 1968. He was just 28 years old. Trammell arrived in Tuscaloosa in 1958. He was part of Coach Bryant's first recruiting class at the university. In 1968 game program, Coach Bryant explained, quote, Pat was pretty mature for his age. He was one of those people that you might say had kind of vibrated leadership. When he walked into a room, you knew he was the leader, unquote. Trammell had this level of toughness and leadership that went with Coach Bryant's philosophy of quarterbacks. Teammate center Billy Neighbor said, quote, they'd send in plays, and if Trammell didn't want to run it, he wouldn't run it. He would just say, we're not going to run that. They don't know what they're talking about. Jack Rutledge, Bryant's longtime assistant coach and a player on that 61 squad, saw Trammell's rebellion firsthand. So the relationship, this is Coach Rutledge talking. So the relationship we had with Coach Bryant, all the players, and you're not saying anything to them. You're sitting there at the table eating, hoping the meal would get over with in a hurry. But Trammell was just sitting there eating like he normally does. Coach Bryant takes out a pen and draws a little play on the napkin. He slides it over to Trammell and says, Pat, what do you think about this play? And Trammell keeps eating, looks at him and says, I don't think it'll work worth a damn. So even though the coach folded up that particular napkin, stuffed it in his pocket, there were no hard feelings because on all accounts, Trammell and Coach Bryant were really close. As a coach and quarterback, they spent a lot of time together. They ate together. They took ceremonial walks around the field before the game together. But Coach Bryant wasn't one to put up with dissension. Mostly, Trammell got away with contradicting his coach because more often than not, he was right. And the same thing happened when I was coaching my favorite player, Trace Penton. I would take his suggestions more often than not because he was smarter than I was. Many of Pat's former teammates and coaches say Trammell was so adept at making the right call, and he would get away with it because he was right. Coach Ryan once told reporters, as a quarterback, Trammell had no ability. He was not a great runner, but he scored touchdowns. He didn't pass with great style, but he completed passes. All he could do was beat you. As a former player myself for Coach Bryant, I'd come to realize that he had a unique ability to measure a player's heart, much more than the coaches that I've ever witnessed in 40 years of football. And the heart is more of a subjective measurable. It's not a concrete standard. When Coach Bryant later said, quote, Pat was my favorite person of his life, it was a testament to an incredible man. Coach Bryant and several of Trammell's teammates found a way to honor Trammell's legacy and keep his spirit alive when they established the A-Club Foundation immediately following Trammell's death. This charitable organization, which thrives to this day, assists the families of former Alabama athletes during times of hardship with funds for education, medical emergency, and other pressing needs. Billy Neighbor said it all started because Coach Bryant wanted to make sure Pat's kids were taken care of. A few years later, Coach Bryant had took the giving spirit a step further, my friends. With an initial gift of $1 million, he established a separate scholarship for the children of all his former players. Over 1,000 students have attended the university on these scholarships, beginning with Pat Trammell Jr. Coach Bryant kept a close watch on his charge. Folks, look what having a favorite player did for so many University of Alabama football lettermen, brothers in a unique family. That, my friend, is a bare fact.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, guys. I'm interested in hearing. I'm going to talk a little bit about Trace in a second, but Billy,
One thing I want to add, I think Coach Bryant understood that kid was so much like him. That's probably why he considered him one of his favorite. It's like looking in a mirror.
Good point, Billy. That's exactly right.
Yep, absolutely true.
I mean,
what Billy said is you have to look at it two ways. You either look at it going out from your own eyes, are they like you? If there's similar things that are in that other person that you admiring yourself have a tendency to what? Find a friendship with them or a certain benefit of the doubt. And it's the same thing with is that coach or that player that is near you looking at you as liking a certain quality. We definitely love to support those that are like us and those that are admiring us. We certainly have O'Leary was my coach. He was Billy's coach. He was a lot of people's coaches, but he admires toughness. And the one thing I could give him was that. I couldn't give him pretty. I couldn't give him pure speed. I couldn't give him much of anything else other than I will hit anyone who's in front of me, even if it's wrong. And he felt, I'll shape that. And so I admired him. And when Bobby Ross came up to me and said, we need a guy like you to keep others in line, and that is your role, we defined certain things that I admired him for his honesty and seeing me as worth that, that position of being captain along the D line with a lot of all-pro players like Leslie O'Neal and Burt Grossman and Junior Seau right behind me. I mean, to be taught that, you can't help but say, Coach, I'm going to work my ass off for you. I'll do all I can. It's really, coaches, players like Billy, when people say favorite, I love playing near Billy. Why? I feel like I could be myself and not be criticized. He made me feel certain things. So it's a lot of it is feel driven, but favoritism, a lot of times it's driven by feel. It's driven by a certain position of thought based on what you're sensing in your heart.
Billy, talk about your favorite player. I know you talked a little bit off camera about him, and talk about Joe Ozempic, our former teammate's son, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna, and it's easy to talk about how many great kids we've had over the years. And I personally have had, I mean, I've had probably 7 or 8 kids play in the NFL that I coached, that I did strength training with.
You can mention some of your favorite guys and some of your favorite players, their names.
I mean, it's a long list. I've got a lot of kids that I mean, it's countless. There's a lot of them. I had Dwight. I coached a little bit with Dwight Freeney. I coached different guys that went on to play, at high levels. And the thing is, it's all great. But when I think of my one favorite player, and I still go back, and I go back to 2011 when, and not only was he my favorite player, he was my godson. And it's still to this day is hard to talk about it. And I'll give you a little background on the kid. The kid was undersized. His name was Joey Ozime, and he'd come to the weight room every day. He'd give me 100%. I mean, he was 135, 145 at his top weight. He was no All-American in high school. Was not going to be the fastest kid or the strongest kid, but the kid was there every day. I mean, it was 90-degree days in the summer. We had 8 or 10 kids in this group. Maybe 2 or 3 would show. He was always the first kid here. Smile on his face every day. Never said what, why, or where. When I told him what to do, the kid would do that. And tragically, Paulie, Blaze, I answered the phone, and it was a tough. It still is a tough time for me, and he got killed by a hit and run driver, and at 19 years old, we lost Joey Ozime. And again, I when you talk about favorite players, I don't look at the kid that can jump the highest or run the fastest. I look at the kid that looks you in the eye, shakes your hand, has integrity, has mental toughness as well as physical toughness. And I'm going to tell you, this kid would take any weight in the gym and try it. And I mean, I tested him more than any other kid. And again, he didn't have those physical qualities that we've all seen. We've all seen the great ones. I played with hundreds of great ones. And my dedication to this show is for Joey Ozime, and I say rest in peace for him. And my heart is full for his mother and father. And I just want them to know that I always think about that kid, and he's my godson. And as far as I'm concerned, he's my son, and I think of him every day.
See what Billy just said was so heartfelt and so deep in an emotional connection, and sometimes that's what we're about. Billy and I are both defensive linemen. He has a sense of humor about his life. I'm much more serious at times, but that combination of what down deep motivates us is why we speak the same language. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, well, what is a guy like Deion Sanders? What is his favorite? Will it be a guy who's pretty fast, sharp with his movements? Will it be anything like Billy or I? I mean, what about a guy like Peyton Manning? Will he be gravitating towards somebody who knows how to run the routes, knows how to be there on time, knows how to cut it at 5 yards out? I mean, it's really interesting to see, who are you asking, Trip? Who are you asking? You're asking 2 bloody human beings. Who do you admire? What are the people you admire in your life? It's so it would be nice eventually to ask that question of George O'Leary. Hey, what do you like? I mean, it appeared that he loved toughness, But why did he build one championship team after another?
Yeah.
From high school to college to the pros. I mean, why? What was in his mind other than I want tough guys? Obviously, there's a lot more to it than just that. And I find this so interesting because when you put a Billy with a Blaze, someone's in trouble on the other side of the line. And what great coaches do is they build a four-wheel drive, not necessarily because, hey, Blaze is the best defensive tackle on the team, but Blaze could bring the other three together. It's like Bobby Ross said to me. So it's really interesting, this dynamic, because when I saw what O'Leary did later on, when I saw what great Blanche did at Green Bay when I was there, these are people that would tell me privately, hey, look, man, you ain't the best on the team, but I like you the most because I can trust you.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Good point, Blazer. Yeah, it'd be an interesting question. It would be an interesting question to ask Coach O'Leary who his favorite player is and why.
You think about all the time we talk about the intangibles of football, and we talk about our favorites. And what comes up all the time is, and I talk about a kid like Joey Ozimick, and I talk about why I can't take his heart and put it in one of those kids that has all that athletic ability and all that just God-given ability. And to have those two or three things in one kid is very, very rare. But
Billy, now I'll tell you who my favorite player is and why and what happened with him. I had a lot of favorite players in my time. I had Robo Wibbs, Alex Williams, Caden Carter, Josh McGowan, Sawyer Smith, Jake Henry, Rod Johnson, Josh Key, Jeremy Reeves, who Angie and I went to New Orleans to see play against the Saints with the Commanders last Sunday. But my all-time favorite was Trace Penton. And Trace had all the intangibles that you're talking about. He wasn't he wasn't the biggest, fastest, strongest kid. He was a sophomore, and he was 150 pounds and he was smart. He was super, super smart. So I told him one day when he was a sophomore before his sophomore year, I said, you need to live in the weight room. The next year he comes back at 175, and then the senior year 190. And he just dominated. I would give him a collegiate game plan on Monday. And by Tuesday, he would have all four DBs lined up every single time on every play. Not only was he smart, but he was super tough. Okay. Let me tell you a story about him. We were going up against Escambia High School, had two D1 kids in the backfield, quarterback and a running back. They were averaging 50 points a game and 500 yards rushing, this team. Okay. So I told Trace, I said, listen, they like this little flare pass, this little sweep on the first play of the game. I said, if they happen to do that, you come up and you just hammer the blocker in a stock block. Now, for people who don't know, the wide receiver comes up and stands around, tries to get in your way on the DB and stock block you. I said, the first play, you just go hammer him, man. Take his head off, and then the rest of the game, he won't know how to block you, okay? So the first play game, sure enough, it's a sweep, and the guy comes out. Trace goes up, hammers him right here in the chin. The guy's helmet falls off. He goes back. Trace goes to tackle, and the guy grabs him around the legs, the guy that with no helmet on the ground. Penalty flag comes out, 1st and 20, and that series was over. Okay, so he was so smart, man. We would go around and talk about how to handle the other DB during the week. Okay, but he had all the intangibles. He wasn't real fast, but he also had great poise. I never saw him lost his poise on the football field. He passed his medical school exams, and we found him dead one night at 23 years old. And his parents asked me to give the eulogy at his funeral. I love the kid like a son. Whew, how do you give a eulogy for a 24-year-old kid? Man, it was rough. What a beautiful person he was. Ironically, God rest his soul, him and Joey Ozimick But those are favorite players that, yeah, you remember, because you're right, Blaze. They remind you a little bit of you when you're younger, and those qualities.
Yeah. Would it be fun to have a person like the Buffalo Bills head coach or the Lions head coach in with us right now and say, hey, be honest, who's your favorite? I mean, and it seems like the NFL is geared toward, I need my favorite to be the quarterback. He needs to be the guy who leads the team, not just the offense anymore, the team, and he needs to be able to get up from a hit if there is such a thing as a hit. And he needs to look like he's never fazed by anything. Or maybe Josh Allen. Maybe, hey, I need a guy who you read everything on his sleeve. When he's happy, when he's pissed, when he's sad, when he's mad, when he's upset in some way, when he's joyous. And I'm going to build a team around that motherfucker. I'm going to build that team around that dude because he is a fire plug. And you start to see the pieces come together, and then you realize in the NFL, they're masters of personnel. Yeah. Hey, I want this guy. I like him, but this guy is better. But Allen needs this guy. You know what I mean? So Campbell needs this guy on the Lions to make his offense run. And it's just a beautiful thing to watch when it's done well. That it produces W's, it produces wins, and it's real simple to say, Billy, hey, Billy's my buddy, man. I die for him. I do anything for Billy because he gave me so much in life, and he's my favorite. And to this day, people say, well, you talk to a lot of guys. No, I don't. I talk to Billy. Every once in a while, Billy. Well, you talk to other guys. No, I don't. I talk to Billy. Yeah. I know he'll be there for me, and it's really rewarding when you have that relationship with a teammate, or as a coach, you have a relationship with a guy. George O'Leary would say, "Don't waste your time with Troy Davis. Don't waste your time." He was a defensive end for the UCF back when I was coaching with O'Leary here in Florida. And why? He's nuts. He's bipolar nuts. And I thought, I love him for that reason. I love him. Yes, he might be bipolar and nuts, but man, there was nobody doing more 24 hours a day than he was. And I loved him. And O'Leary said, he's going to burn you one day. Yeah, he burned me a few times when he was in that wrong state of mind. Right. But boy, I love that blood. I love that.
You know what? You know what else is another interesting dynamic to me with Coach Bryant? He didn't want yes men, whether you're an assistant coach or a player. And he wanted people to think on their own. And I remembered that when I coached, and I would hope to have the relationship with the players where they could make suggestions like Trace Penton did to me. Numerous times, and more often than not, I would accept it, and that's the way Coach Bryant was with Pat. Not many other players. Matter of fact, Walter Lewis, a quarterback for Coach Bryant, his last quarterback, tells a story about their confrontation in the Liberty Bowl. In this jersey right here has the last. That's Coach Bryant's last jersey, December 29th. And he talks about the dissension he has with Walter. Walter went in 2 days before Coach Bryant passed away and to apologize. But Coach Bryant didn't want yes men. Okay, and I think that's important. That you don't always want somebody to go along just for the sake of going along. You should question. If you have, if you have a serious conviction about something, you should be able to talk about it.
And you know what? Another avenue on this is, one day we got to talk about the opposite. We have to talk about those we hate. We got to talk about ones that just burn you up. And what burns you up more than anything is, hey, man, he's so talented. We have to put up with him. Do you really need to put up with him? He's going to ruin the team. No, but we can win. We can't win without him. You see that compromise all the time in NFL teams and on schoolyards.
Yeah.
You see pop water because, hey, my son has to play. He has to play.
No. All right, so let's take that vein. Hey, let's take that vein and run with it, okay? I'll tell the story if you want. But, Billy, can you tell the story of a player that was super talented, but you had to sit him or you had to talk to him or you had to discipline him? And go ahead and tell the story about your least favorite.
We all have had many of them and going back to what I said about wishing that some of those kids that had all the talent in the world but don't have the discipline. They just don't have that knack of controlling themselves. And a great example is I don't watch much NFL football at all, and I don't really have much interest anymore in the way the game is played. But I flipped the game on one day. It was probably about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and I watched a kid make an interception. The kid had a pick six. He was nobody near him. He ran probably 35, 40 yards, got almost to the goal line, and he drops the football before he crosses the goal line. Now, in our day, and I know you guys are going to agree with me, if that ever happened, I don't think we'd ever see the field again. Instead, they're on the sideline patting this kid on the back. The kid has all kinds of talent in the world, but what's he lacking? He's lacking that mental discipline of the game. He's too worried about dancing, handing the ball off. Now, a coach has got to be out of his mind looking at that, So it's things like that. And I turned the TV off and I said, I'm never going to watch a freaking another game again.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I had a kid one time. He was super talented, man. Ended up being a great player. But he came in from another school, and he had all the talent in the world. He was probably our best DB. But he gave up 3 touchdown passes in an inter-squad scrimmage. 3 long touchdown passes. I sat him down. I said, "You're second string now. You're not starting." Well, he whined and complained, but he realized, and I talked to him. I said, "But you got a chance to work your way back into the lineup, right?" He bitched and complained a little bit, man, but he came back. He didn't give up a touchdown pass the whole year, But he had to realize that, hey, just because you're the greatest DB, and doesn't mean you're going to play for me. That's not equal to playing time. You have to do the little things in order to get on the field, and that just showed everybody, I don't care how good you are, if you don't pay attention, you're not playing.
Yeah. Hey.
You have to be.
Yeah, then there's poster boys like we hear on ESPN. If you ever watch that garbage anymore, I don't watch as much, but you hear about, that's my team in the NFL. The first team I ever played for was the Colts. And then you have to tolerate some quarterback Richardson walking off the field because he's tired. I mean, what a morale boost for those that are playing 100 reps, playing 60 offensive snaps in a row. O-linemen, D-linemen, linebackers, people playing their nuts off, and I'm tired. And then he's back out there. What is the morale of that team? What are you doing, Mr. Irsay? Right. What are you doing, Coach? They don't know what they're doing because we drafted him so high. See, there's another conversation one day, which is they were an early draft choice. I received a benefit from being an early draft choice, and I should have never, but I did. So it goes both ways. There's people we love and people we don't like, and there's the popular conversations of, hey, what will it take? What will a coach do with a player? It's really an interesting subject matter.
I did not like somebody that much. Well, I did. I did. I'm honest. I didn't like a lot of the players, but they didn't stay around. the ones that didn't want to get along with anybody else or were cancer on that, I cut them out. I told the coaches, I can't work with this player. If you got a problem with it, then come talk to me. But he's not being a DB. You can move him over to wide receiver or whatever, linebacker, whatever position. I would tell the head coach, no, I'm not working with this dude.
George O'Leary comes into my office at UCF. He says, he's yours. I said, who's mine? Jose. I said, Jose is an offensive lineman. He's 450 pounds. What am I going to do with him on the defensive line? You find a home for him. He has good feet. Coach, he's 450 pounds. Well, you'll work with him. You'll get him down to below 400. What do you mean I will? What do you mean I will? I mean, it's up to him. No. You're his coach. He is now a D lineman. I don't like him. He's not one who fits what I'm trying to do. Remember, it's my team. It's my team. You do what I ask you to do.
Right.
He's your player. And I'm like, oh my. And I'm sitting back in the chair like, what? Jose is a what? What? Oh, man. Rest in peace, because he's a gangster. He was shot because he's came from really, really South Miami, Gangville. But wow, man, that's an example of I don't like him, but you're right.
Here they come, huh? Oh my gosh. Hey, I want to mention one more thing. I want to thank Coach Bryant for taking $1 million back in 1982, which is probably worth $10 million now, in ripple affecting thousands of people that never knew Coach Bryant. His players' kids got to go to school there. And the A Club is a special group at Alabama where we take care of our own. And just a gesture like that has a ripple effect on so many people. That's why his legacy is so strong. But thanks, guys. Thanks for being you. Thanks for you guys being you.
Guys, take care. Huh?
Merry Christmas, everybody.
See you guys. So long.
Bye-bye.
Oh man, what a show! Favorite player. It's called Trace Penton was mine. Always will be. God rest your soul. You and Joey Osempic. And everybody that's watched the show. Thanks for watching Four Wheel Drive. Stay tuned for these important messages. Without these great sponsors, this just wouldn't be possible. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. If you like the show, make sure you share it, like it, share it. Talk to you soon. Bye.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
75 years of service and high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple pane of brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
My name is Steve Reynolds. I'm the manager and owner of Cordova Lanes, and we help keep your mind out of the gutter. Cordova Lanes is part of the community of Pensacola. Being here for 43 years, we've entertained more people than any other bowling center in the city. We self-fund for a living. Cordova Lanes is located at 2111 Airport Boulevard in Pensacola, behind Cordova Mall. Come on out and see us at Cordova Lanes Bowling Center.